Well, it began with my inner guides and the angels came in and said that I needed to create a new workshop to extend beyond. They didn't say what it was. So I just started making a workshop, which I thought would be the next level. And we did one of those, and we realized that this is not going to work. And it had to be altered. But between that time and more recently in March, or actually even prior to that time, some information had come in to me that changed everything. Everything I knew. I mean, I knew it was true, but now it's proven to be true. So this is about the Birkeland currents and the plasma fields and what all this would mean for us as human beings. This was one of the things that I had been looking for my whole life. And so this was very important, and it was so important that I started to try to change where I was going in the first place to this new information. And basically, on the first time, it wasn't set up. I was going in like two directions at once. Now, on the second one we did, which was in August, we changed it all to so it was coherent, and the direction we were headed in was in one particular way, and so August and October were much better, but in that work there was one thing that had to be known and understand, and the entire world didn't know what it was, at least as far as we knew, because I sat with over 40 scientists and none of them knew what it was, but they were all down to that same one thing, was how does the heart take a spark, literally a spark made from a mechanical spark. They took calcium and magnesium and one other thing, I think it was phosphorus, and they made a little, it made a little battery, one of the cells. It's the pacemaker cells in a certain region of the heart. And it makes that one little spark, and it makes that little spark. And that spark moves through 7 different chambers, and when it comes out, it's not just a little spark, it's huge amount of energy, enough energy of electricity to create this magnetic field that goes around our body, the biomagnetic field. Nobody knows how they do. Nobody can understand how that's possible because it breaks all the laws of mathematics and physics. Everything we know, that's not possible. But it had to be possible because the heart's doing it. And so all these people that are studying Birkeland currents and everything else are all trying to figure out how that is possible. From the time I first came here, and they asked me to begin to teach, I had certain rules that I had to play by. And the rules were that I could not use any higher levels of consciousness whatsoever. I could only use human consciousness and nothing else. Because if I couldn't do it with human consciousness, how can somebody else do it? So we had to play by those rules. And so this has been an evolutionary step. I've learned certain things once I understand certain things, like the sacred geometry and how everything is based on that. That took 14 years of just studying that one thing. Once I understood how that ran through everything, then I knew the language that I could speak in order to begin to understand these other things. And so then the Merkaba came out of the sacred geometry, and we understood what that was. But at the time that that I received that, I didn't know what was coming in the future, and especially what I'm learning right now. And so they let that out, and they let that be absorbed into humanity, and it went around the world. But then later I discovered that the heart was an essential part of the Merkaba and was not talked about in the initial first 2 books. That's when the 3rd book came out, which was the Living in the Heart, and from that information, that's what the ATIH work all was developed out through that. And it's a combination of using sacred geometry and a lot of other things, we were able to come up with what that information was. Also, with the Ascended Masters, who were the people that developed that information in the first place, they were there helping me to understand what this was. But always from a human point of view. We have everything we need. If we didn't, we would never be able to get out of here. And so it's just as a truth that we are whole, complete, and perfect within ourselves. We just have to know how to rearrange things and see differently than we do now to be able to get into higher consciousness. So anyway, that unfolded, and ATIH works began to happen. And then that's when they said, no, there's still more. You have to understand more. And I'm going, okay, well, what is that? And I started doing the way to do, because it was beingness, from my way of seeing, it is beingness that is able to get one into these higher levels. That's still true. It isn't that wasn't true. It's just that in order to reach the specific information, exactly how do you do it, that wasn't clear enough. And so I was then brought into an energy field with lots and lots of mathematicians and scientists. And from there, I understood the new science that is coming out, which I didn't know existed. And after studying that since from March until now, in November of 2014, I understand that pretty well. I understand exactly what they're saying and what all the parameters are and everything else. But I also understand that the people these physicists and these mathematicians and everything, they all have one big problem. They cannot understand how the heart can take this little spark and bring it into this massive amount of energy, like we were just saying. And so they're all sitting there trying to figure out through mathematics and everything else how they do this. And I was too. I was going through all the various stages, and I knew where it was in. It was in the 7-color map of the toroidal field, that was the key. And I was convinced of that, and as it turns out now, as of today, I was exactly right. But there was another area of spirituality that I just found out 2 days ago that changes. I know how it works now. I understand it all. The missing piece is here. We don't have to look anywhere. We just have to integrate this into this, and we can do it. And so for the first time, I feel I have everything we need in one place. And now, and this is really also why we're changing the workshop back a little bit further, because I need this time. This is one of the things. I need this time a little bit more, so when I do present this, it will be whole and complete and done. And so at the moment, I'm so excited I can hardly sit here in this chair, because I just learned this. And what I learned just a couple days ago, I can't tell you, because there's no reference point that you guys have to be able to understand what I'm talking about. But you will. And when you understand the Birkeland currents and the plasma fields and how we can go, that the entire universe is connected right now with electricity and communication, and something that no one ever knew was true, that is a big piece. But there is the final piece, is how does a person actually make that connection to all life everywhere? Okay, we got it. We just have to integrate it into the human body, and we know how to do it. And so this is what this new workshop is going to be. And because of this, I'm going to change the name. The name of beingness, the way to do is to be. The essence of what is in there is still true. But to be more accurate in this, we're going to call it cosmic grace. Because this is... this is something that has been held forever. Until we get to a certain level. And when we do, this cosmic grace comes in and makes it easy for us to make the transition. And so I don't believe this is going to be a hard thing. If we go through the ATIH work and we go through the ascension process, which is going through dimension by dimension by dimension until you get all the experience all the way through, takes a long time. If we do that, we can do that. It's a legitimate pathway. Over half of the ascended masters, that's how they became immortal. And so it's not, for some people, that may be easier, because it's, this other way is a lot harder, and you got to know a lot more, and you got to be able to get your body in a certain way to be able to, a certain level of strength and breathing power to be able to do these things. But now that we know this other way, which is a third form of electricity that the whole world is looking for, And we can prove this. We can prove it scientifically, absolutely, because it's already been done. It just hasn't gone out to the world.